Hello, everybody. This is Pascal from Neutrality Studies, and today I'm talking to Roberto Zamora, an international lawyer and peace activist who, back in 2004, managed to force his home country, neutral Costa Rica, to withdraw from the so-called Coalition of the Willing, who back then attacked and subsequently occupied Iraq. This and the politics of Central America is what we want to discuss today. So, Roberto, welcome.
Pascal, thank you very much for this opportunity to be here and discuss such an interesting issue um, today. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, because you reached out to me and sent me your master thesis in which you kind of analyzed Costa Rica's neutrality. And in that context, you also let me know that it was you who, 20 years ago, put forward a lawsuit that then, in the end, obliged Costa Rica to withdraw from the Coalition of the Willing. Can you tell us the story of that of Costa Rica, how it came to join that coalition and how you forced it out again?
Sure, it's not really a long story. It is I believe a well-known fact in the international community that Costa Rica has maintained a neutrality policy for a very long time, and that this neutrality policy was expressed in unilateral declaration of international law in 1983 when President Monge, under the pressure of the Americans, decided to escape of the the wars of the Cold War, especially the one in Nicaragua, by declaring Costa Rica neutral. Um, we by now, luckily, the facts are out and the history has been rewritten, so we know what happened and what were the motivations that led uh, the United States and the UK to create a coalition of the willing to invade Iraq. Because this intervention or invasion on Iraq had no grounds on international law, they tried to find other ways to legitimate this invasion, and that was basically creating the support from a group of very random states. If you look at the list of the members of that coalition of the willing, and uh, we have to recall, because one question that I get a lot when talking about this issue is, what was Costa Rica bringing to the coalition of the willing and to the invasion of Iraq if we don't have an army?
Because you got rid of your army back in 48, 49, right?
48, that's correct. And we were not bringing military might. We were supposed to be bringing moral might. We maybe you recall that at the very beginning, in the first speeches of Bush about the war, he said that this was a war for peace, democracy, and human rights. And if you think of any country in the world that can have a say with some moral authority on peace, democracy, and human rights, you want Costa Rica on your list, because indeed Costa Rica is one of the few countries that can talk with property about peace, democracy, and human rights. So there you can see why the United States wanted Costa Rica in the list, why the United States used its normal mechanisms to press on the government to obtain this support, which is removal of aid, most likely. Um, and back then, at the very moment that the coalition of the willing started its invasion, President Pacheco decided to issue its public support in the name of Costa Rica to the coalition of the willing. Um, and I was starting third year of law school. Mm, I mean, the news came very bad in the country. I mean, 99.2% of the population was against the decision. I mean, I've never saw a poll so cited as to 99.2% of the population rejecting that decision. And I was very upset, and it came through my mind, well, we are law students, let's try something. And at the end, nobody wanted to do anything, so I decided to just try it. Costa Rica's legal system is very friendly, if I can use the word, for constitutional issues. I mean, it's very easy to have access to the Supreme Court to discuss issues of constitutionality. So, for instance, I didn't need a lawyer. I needed just somebody to authenticate my signature and pay 30 cents of a dollar, and that was it. Um, so I decided to give it a try. I mean, I decided to give it a try and to challenge the support given to the coalition of the willing, claiming several violations of international law, including a specific violation on the neutrality declaration.
Sorry, just to be clear, like your argument was based on Costa Rica being in breach of its own international obligations, right? That's the argument you tabled and submitted to your Supreme Court in Costa Rica.
Correct. So Article 7 of Costa Rica's constitution establishes that Costa Rica is bound by international law. In fact, Costa Rica has a full monist legal system, which means we don't make a distinction between domestic and international law. Once international law has been approved by the Congress and is now part of the domestic legal system as one. So here in Costa Rica, you can go to the court and directly claim violations to international regulations. Because the Constitution establishes as such. So, I mean, there were many arguments. I argued violations to the right of self-determination of the Iraqi people. I mean, I claimed several, but the court decided not to work on them, leave them aside, and just stick with the ones that constituted a violation. So the court said that the support was unconstitutional for three main reasons. The first was the most obvious violation to the neutrality declaration. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the nuclear test case, the International Court of Justice said that when recognizing the legal value of unilateral acts, it said that unilateral acts are normally very specific, and that in their contents, that these unilateral obligations are very specific in the way they are framed and phrased, and how the country then is understood as bound. So the Costa Rica's neutrality declaration is a beautiful 7-page long document. And in one of its clauses, it says that it should not give any support of any kind, so it shall not be involved in reality or apparently in a conflict of others. So Costa Rica's neutrality has to be so strict, so it should never even give an impression that is taken aside in a conflict of others.
Yeah.
And here is where the violation to Costa Rica's neutrality happened.